My name's Chris and today I'm reviewing the GNARBOX 2.0. Just get my show notes. A couple of weeks ago, the guys from GNARBOX approached me and asked me if I wanted to test their new GNARBOX 2.0. Now, a little disclaimer, I had never used GNARBOX. I didn't really know what the device could do or what it couldn't do, and I really just wanted to test and see what it was like in the real world. Now, you should know they didn't pay me to make this review, they just sent me the device to test it, and all opinions in this video are mine. And I'm just going to talk about my experience with the GNARBOX 2.0 in the real world scenario and what I think is great about it and what I hope they can improve in the future on it. So let's get going. What is the GNARBOX? The GNARBOX is like a mini computer with an internal SSD, and it's basically a rugged backup device that is meant to replace your laptop in extreme places, expeditions and so on. The GNARBOX 2.0 is basically made up of one big block like this, and it has a removable battery, which is new, I've heard, compared to the previous version. And great long-lasting battery. It has multiple ports. We have a micro HDMI, an SD card slot, and a USB-C slot on this side, as well as another USB-C slot on this side, which allows me to plug in a whole lot of devices, my SD card, and there's going to be multiple adapters to be able to plug in other things as well. So you can basically plug in anything from your cameras into this device and boot it up and use this little screen and the 4 buttons here to navigate your SD card, for example, and back it up or copy it across into the internal SSD. Now, the extra access ports like the USB-C port on this side here allows you to access any external drive. Now, what the guys from GNARBOX also made was an app for your smartphone, iPhone, Android, and so on, which allows you to access the GNARBOX 2.0 wirelessly. One of the exciting parts here is that the guys from GNARBOX work together with Photomechanic, one of my favorite applications in my photography workflow. Check out my video about it, to create a high-performance app which allows you to preview, sort, organize, and work through your files on your phone without a computer. And that's pretty exciting, really. That allows me to technically leave my laptop at home and go on any kind of expedition with these two simple devices here and already process my files. Now, there's a couple of things I don't quite like about it yet, where I think there's room for improvement, but we'll get to that later on. When it comes to actually testing this device, I had a really good project lined up that happened to be perfectly timed for reviewing this thing. I had a trip planned in Central Asia up in the Pamir Mountains above 4,000 meters, a 2-week 4x4 off-road adventure road trip. The Pamir Mountains, you should know, is probably one of the extremer places on this planet, and no better place to test this device. It's insanely dusty, it's really extreme temperatures, high altitude. We had freezing, we had hot days, we had, like I said, lots of dust everywhere. It's actually still full of dust from that trip. Dust is literally everywhere in my gear right now. The way I used this on this project, I basically used it as a backup device. At the end of the day, plugged in my SD cards and just went 2 clicks and created an instant backup of my files. At the same time, I was able to preview some of my files on my phone through the app, and I could make some selects. Now, I didn't quite do it because I thought the app was a little bit cumbersome to use, but having that instant backup on the fly was really great, and the device never crashed, was ultra reliable, and I basically did the whole thing with one battery. I did have a second battery, but the battery's amazing. It lasts 5 or 6 hours, and if you're basically just plugging in your SD card at the end of the day, doing the backup, that doesn't take up that much time. And at the same time, I plugged in my SSD to create another backup on the SSD card. So I had 2 backups, which allowed me to format my cards every evening, and I was 100% sure I had my files backed up and safely stored away in a portable, rugged, weatherproof SSD drive, which I can drop and whatnot without any worries, no problem at all. What got me really excited was this whole Photomechanic integration, and that was also kind of the letdown here. I was expecting that I could replace my entire Photomechanic workflow. Again, check out my Photomechanic workflow video to find out how I use Photomechanic. And I was expecting I could replace my laptop and the photomechanic workflow by using my smartphone and the GNARBOX. And honestly, it's close. The GNARBOX is a very capable, powerful machine, but it doesn't, on the software side is where it fell short, where I couldn't quite do my entire workflow. Usually for me, at the end of a day or at the end of a shoot, I use photomechanic to create my import and create folder structure and add metadata to my files. And I was hoping to do this with GNARBOX. And where it fell short was the naming. It was a bit too limited in the way I could name my files. It was limited to year, month, day, as well as folder structure was also manual, basically. It's not very automated the way I could do it in photomechanic. You cannot fetch variables, or you cannot use a metadata template where you use the country or the date or anything like that to create folder structure where it fetches that information. And I mean, again, it's a software, it falls short on the software, but honestly, that's something that can hopefully be fixed. I'll just do a quick demo of how I would import my files and use the app on with the GNARBOX. So you go into your Wi-Fi settings and select the GNARBOX in the network, and then you're connected to the GNARBOX pretty simply and quickly. And then you open one of the two apps. Now, this is kind of a bummer. Why we need two apps? I hope that they merge these two apps into one. I'm going to start with SafeKeep, which is one of the apps that they have that allows you to import and copy your files across and basically do all the file management. I'm connected to the GNARBOX and I can already see the internal SSD right now. Now I'm going to grab my SD card with a couple of shots that I took yesterday and plug it in. And right now I can already see it on my app. I can actually access the files inside the SSD without having to import. Now that's not what we want to do, but we want to create our backup or import our files. So one, I can do it straight on the GNARBOX using the backup now function. It's a one click and it starts doing it. Or we can use our own preset. So in this case, I'm going to go create a preset in the app. So we're going to go create a new preset. I want it to have a folder structure. I'm going to start with a new folder, which is called Photos 1, just so we have it's clear. And then a subfolder with the year. That would be pretty much my structure. And then we can use these dynamic folders. This is where I'd like to see a few more options than just the two options we have here. But we have year, month, day, date created, and I'd like the photos to end up in there. Click next. We're going to name this preset review preset. And done. And now it's saved. Now there's a couple here already. I did one before, review sample. As you can see, there's one from the Premiere Highway as well. And we're going to use the review preset. Now, how do we do this? On import, we can now select advanced on the GNARBOX and select, we're going to copy to the GNARBOX SSD. Now, if we have anything else attached, we can copy to another device, another external SSD. And I'm going to use my review preset. And bam, it's importing my files. Only 500 megabytes, so it's not too big, but it's pretty quick, also on large files. It immediately checks the files with the checksum verification, which is great. So I know that the files that were on that SD card are now perfectly copied across. And now if I go onto the app again, you can see the GNARBOX SSD. Photos 1 has been created, 2019, and some photos have appeared. There's a slight bug here. The raw files of the Olympus EM1X are not supported, so I can't actually see the previews here. If I had shot in JPEG, we would be able to see that. So my verdict for the GNARBOX 2.0, well, I love it. I actually think it's an amazing device, and I'm really surprised because I hate adding steps to my workflow. I like to reduce steps to my workflow to be as quick as possible and get out shooting again. But this device was an on-the-fly backup machine that was 100% reliable, and it gave me peace of mind. And I think that is worth any price, really. As a photographer in extreme environments, the last thing you want to do is lose your work that you're suffering for. So that's where this device is perfect. The GNARBOX 2.0 is perfect for this. But the whole photomechanic integration that I was hoping for didn't quite meet my expectations. Maybe it was because my expectations were something completely different when I heard photomechanic integration. Now, the performance and the preview loading and the speed of the GNARBOX, that is thanks to the photomechanic integration. But the whole metadata tagging and the whole workflow that I have with photomechanic, you cannot do with the apps and with the device. Now that's a software issue. That's something that can be fixed in applications, in software updates in the future. And I really hope it gets there because the hardware is on point. It really works. The battery lasts forever. It's rugged. And yeah. Now, is it for everyone? Well, it depends on your workflow. Do you want to you add 1 or 2 stars or 5 stars to your images? Do you want to preview your files on the go and then jump straight into Lightroom with those selects already made? That's great. Then this device is amazing for you. If you're a hardcore photomechanic user, maybe it's not quite there yet. Okay, I hope you liked this video. I hope you learned something about the GNARBOX. I hope you found the information that you were after. And yeah, if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and hopefully I'll see you next time for another video. Thanks for watching.